Thanks for stopping by Big Top Gaming. My name's Brian.
And I'm Ethan.
And today we got a Brawlmachine battle report with Crucible Guard for the first time ever. On this channel, at least. Not the first time ever on the internet.
So this week I'm back with more Retribution Brawlmachine. I really wanted to try out Ossyan. So I ended up playing in Shadows of the Retribution because Brawl gives it a little bit more variety. Or not variety, but it's not shackled by the...
More like efficacy, right?
Yeah. And it's not shackled like the other themes of normally, like, oh, take tridents and win. So now, like, I think it has a place to shine. And I wanted to see if Strike Force are maybe too good in Brawl, because I think there's a few casters that can just break it. So I got Moros, Hypnos for my battle group, one Arcanist, Scythe is my rec option, a Lys Healer, and then a max unit of Strike Force with UA. And my specialists are Narn, a Mage Hunter Assassin, a Void Tracer, and Nail, just in case I want to get spicy with Nail.
So I am super happy to be playing Crucible Guard again. I got rid of the army in before Oblivion hit, so this is all super fun to me again. I think a lot of Crucible Guard players are a little burnt out on Crucible Guard because they're a little stagnant, but I'm super stoked for them. So I decided to build a Magnum Opus list led by Syvestro, and in my battle group I've got Alyce, I've got a Toro, a Suppressor, and then outside the battle group I'm bringing a Crucible Guard Mechanik, Anastasia di Bray, a full unit of Steelhead Halberdiers, and Dr. Alejandro Mosby is attached to them. And then I've also got a Dragon's Breath rocket. For my specialists, I have Hutchuck, a Trancer, a Crucible Guard Mechanik, and Gorman de Wolf. And the gist with this one is I'm trying out the whole swapping out Anastasia di Bray when you've used her for her fancy ability. The Magnum Opus has some really great theme benefits in that I get to re-roll my roll to go first, so when you've got Anastasia stacked on top of that, you're pretty well likely to be going first. So when I win that first game, or when I win the roll to go first, then I can side her out straight for a Trancer. And if I feel like Alyce isn't really doing a lot for me, I can swap in Hutchuck for another ambush thing, just so I can keep that option open. And then the Mechanik and Gorman are there to just tinker with things if I feel like I need another Rust or some more Pathfinder from all terrain. Otherwise, I'm super stoked about the way that this list came together. The Steelhead Halberdiers have a lot of punch in this list, and they're so cheap. So we'll see how this all goes. I just realized that I put two mechanics in the list, so there's one mechanic in the main board and one in the sideboard. Thankfully, it didn't matter this game, but for future reference, you definitely can't do that. So at the surprise to no one, I ended up winning the roll to go first.
Hey, I had a reroll too.
You had your reroll, yep, and I rolled a 6 out of the gate, so there was no getting around that.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yep, it was a good time for me, right? So I ended up getting stuck with the side where the forest is a little bit more towards my side of the table instead of Ethan's. He can mitigate that quite a bit, but I can't. So obviously all of his Mage Hunter Strike Force are sitting back there. So I've got Syvestro moving up first, and I kind of jiggle him back and forth because I don't want to die to these guys right away. And my turn 1 goal is to super fuel right away because I want to make sure that my Warjacks get up the table quickly and start exerting their pressure on Ethan. So we run up the Toro as far as I can go. Well, kind of. He just hangs out behind the forest. This way I force Ethan to have to use his mini feat right away, so I can clear that out of the way and not have to worry about it again. And that way Syvestro's kind of protected from the forest, or by the forest. My Suppressor ends up getting all terrain from the Mechanik, and then I conveniently forget to repo the Mechanik because I was complaining about the whole, all terrain is probably the stupidest rule ever because you can't do anything afterwards. I would really prefer if it was just like if they activate well in base to base, then you could do it. It would be
being
way better.
Greedy. No.
It's a little greedy, but right now all terrain just isn't right, in my opinion. Next up, we do the good stuff for the Halberdiers, and they just rip up the side of the table, ready to kind of charge in on those Mage Hunters. This way, Ethan's got a lot of targets that he needs to deal with, and can't take them all down.
So losing the roll is unfortunate. And then there I'm just measuring. Luckily, Syvestro had to stay back because Ossyan has 4 upkeeps, 3 of which I'm going to probably be casting this game, and a free Purification really ruins my day. But here I'm debating feeding bottom of 1 because I think I can get the Toro, and I think it's been a while since I've feeded. I haven't played Ossyan since pre-Theme Machine.
Yeah, we're both kind of in the same boat with our revisits to these factions.
Yeah, I played Ossyan a whole bunch beginning of Mark 3 because back when he had Deadeye, like,
yep.
yeah, he was real good. I will still argue he is fine with Deadeye in a post-Theme Machine world. Like, a 4th upkeep on him is just kind of hard. So there he ends up going. He puts Admo on Hypnos, and then I end up fortuning Scythe. I should have fortuned the Strike Force. So actually, no, I put Admo on myself just in case he tries to come up with a Suppressor. And then the Fortune token is next to Scythe, because Scythe can actually get range to both of them, both of the jacks, if she goes in the front line. And then there I'm just putting down a 6-inch stick. He did put Admo on it, so he could Admo into the woods and then countercharge through them to engage a couple of the Strike Force, which would be real bad.
Yeah, for what it's worth, the Suppressor has Explosivo, and then the Halberdiers have Transmutate.
Yep, so I am very, very terrified of the Suppressor, because normally its sprays would be really, really good into me, but now when those sprays also make my dudes explode into not snakes kills, like, that's kind of rough.
Yep, it's a nice spell.
And then now I'm just going through. They do mini feet, so that way they can try and shoot the Toro. And now I just got about 11 attacks going into the Toro. My hope is, with feet and Jack Hunter at dice minus 10, I can take out the shield. First one does no damage. Second one, I do a few, and that would be to the sword. Next one hits.
That one blows it up hard.
Yeah, but it's doing it to columns, like the wrong side. There, that one does no damage. So, like, some of these damage rolls are going real bad. At dice minus 10 on 4 dice, I've already had half of them do no damage. And then there I sneak through another 5. And then that's where it comes up where I miss, because I'm at 6 and he's an 11. My game plan was to put Fortune on Scythe on a later turn when she goes in with Multifair, because Fortune helps her a whole bunch. And there I've just missed another one. So, like, I'm getting down to the end. Like, I had hoped to get the Suppressor and maybe cripple some stuff there, but it's looking like it's going to take all the Strike Force just to kill a Toro.
Yeah.
Because I have still... Yep, that finally took out the shield, and I believe there's only 3 left. And I believe at that point I have No, they've all gone. I have realized that I have blocked the walk lane for Scythe to get to the Suppressor, so she has to go up and just shoot the Toro. And she's also a POW 10 Weapon Master, so under feet it's 4 dice. And then she hits because she's Rat 8, and then does a whopping 2. So it takes, I believe this is the 3rd shot from Multifire, and finally kills.
Yep, so it took almost your whole army and your feet turn to take out that Toro.
Yep. So then she multi-fires over, and because of Transmute, she misses, and then with the Fortune reroll, she misses again. She gets the running gun back at least, but now, like, that Suppressor is going to hurt, and Dragon Breath drifting is going to hurt. And sadly, like, my battle group wasn't in range to shoot this turn, so, like, I'm not getting a lot of work out of them. So Moros just moves over the threat in the zone next turn.
So losing my Toro right away wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but I don't have to deal with upkeeping Admonition, so there's that at least. I end up getting... I think right now I was thinking about doing something with Alyce, but I decide not to because it's way too early and there's no reason to. And I allocate 1 to the Suppressor. It's not that I think that Syvestro is going to get busy this turn with things, but I just didn't feel like I needed to give him a full stack of focus when Alyce can just go up and empower him. So I'm trying to think about how I want to unpack all this. I think the first thing that I need to do is respect Moros' threat range, but still get this Dragon's Breath rocket to do some work. They're in a really good place for scoring the zone for almost the rest of the game. It's harder for Ethan to get back here. So I go ahead and take my shot, and I get a really not great drift. It ends up going like 5 inches to the 4. So the Dragon's Breath rocket doesn't get to do anything, and I opt to not repo them. I probably could have pulled them back a little bit here just to make them more safe. But now I think now that I'm kind of in this position where my Dragon's Breath rocket didn't get to do what it wanted to, I need to figure out what Syvestro is going to be up to. And he's just moving up, and I debated kind of casting something for free here, like maybe wiping some upkeeps out since I can get mine out a little bit easier than Ethan can. But I decide to put out my Cloud, which I haven't put down yet because we have to go fish for one. But I put down my like little something ethereal or Ethereum Cloud. I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, but it gives me super stealth. And I have my Mechanik run to kind of get up into position on the flag, and I wasn't able to get Alyce to empower the Suppressor because she had to run to the flag because I couldn't score it otherwise, and it was more important to me to get up on points than it was to get that extra focus out on the Suppressor. So finally we go into my little box of junk and get my my little AoE, and I had to get the spray too, so that's probably the real reason why we put it down. Next, I'm kind of finagling with the sprays here. I want to try and get as many as I can, and I finally find a lane where if I target Hypnos, I think if I target Hypnos, I was getting 3 of them. So it's also worth noting that Syvestro feeded this turn. That's a real big thing. Unfortunately, the Toro's not hanging around to take advantage of it. Almost was able to. He almost survived due to some luck, but didn't quite make her. So when it comes to how that first spray ended up doing, I kill 2 of them, and then one of them blows up to kill one that I didn't hit.
It actually hits the UA because I didn't space out.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I didn't put down the widget to measure range. I eyeballed the AoE range, which you should never do.
Yeah, that's a bad move.
So the UA is actually in the AoE, and that's what you're doing now.
Yep, so those 2 go down easy, and we're rolling on this fella here. I get the feed effect, but unfortunately I don't roll high enough to kill that unit attachment, so he's still sitting there, and it's not that I really need the unit attachment gone. He's a little bit higher rat, which makes it important to take him down, but I really just want to kill Mage Hunters here, and just getting rid of another gun would be really great. I think the next thing I do is I can catch 2 more Mage Hunters with the spray, and I think I missed them both.
Yeah, because you couldn't boost. You had used your focus on the first spray.
Yep. So the Suppressor was lined up to do some really cool stuff and just didn't quite get there, especially with the Dragon's Breath rocket not drifting in a good direction. Just didn't leave me with a great feeling on how that side was looking. So now it's up to the Steelhead Halberdiers to try and make up for the slack. And we're trying to figure out if there's one Halberdier that's just on the edge of this forest that can barely see his target. And he can see his target, but unfortunately he can't close the gap to get the charge in. Like, I'm in range, but based on how I have to position around the other Mage Hunters, I'm not able to close that distance. It's just a little bit off to make it difficult. So instead, I opt to charge a couple more Halberdiers in. I'm not going to get the one in the way back, but I'm able to get on 2 of those, and then there's a couple guys in front who can grab some too. So now I'm just trying to flood Ethan's zone with mini-feeded Halberdiers. We've got the Revivifier up, and then I believe I have the Contagion Coagulum up, because if I don't make it through this and Ethan starts punching my guys, then he'll be able to then he'll become corroded. And I also don't really want the -1 to hit on this charge because the Mage Hunter Strike Force, I need 7s right now, so I'm definitely not going to be wanting to fish for 8s even though my feet turns up. So I'm not sure what it is that I'm working with here.
I think that's where you realize like the tough would give you the next one.
Yeah, right. So then that's when I was like, oh, what do I do? And then I went with the Coagulum stuff. So the Halberdiers are hitting really accurately. They're showing the Suppressor how it's done, and they take out quite every Mage Hunter they go into, except for the guy in the front. I think they didn't get.
So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to clear my zone because I am blessed with the Strike Force, but their melee isn't that great. And the Lys Healer, somebody died in her command, which I did have to proxy her with. I believe that's actually Nail because we couldn't find.
Yeah, my Retribution situation's a little screwbally.
So she just walks up to the wall, and I'm trying to measure like AoE 4s if I shoot with Hypnos, and like I'm just trying to go through because I don't have any anti-tough tech, so I'm trying to catch as many as I can. I mean,
you have anti-tough for your theme benefit.
Yeah, in melee with Mat 6, POW 9s, and like I'm in a weird position where I can't charge because the front line is engaged, so I have to like walk around Halberdier reach ranges. If I charge in a straight line, I take a free strike, and I really don't want to risk that. So Arcanist goes, concentrated powers Moros. I did allocate him 2, and I gave 1 to Hypnos because I don't really see Ossyan doing much this turn. And there I'm measuring if I can actually get within 10 of Mosby.
Yeah, he's hanging out behind a wall.
And Hypnos can actually fit through the gap there, get in 10, and not be engaged. And Hypnos is actually proxied by Discordia, because also the Retribution situation, which is fine. Like, they're both character heavies.
My Retribution army got here, and then I scored this Crucible Guard stuff, and I was like, I need some Raelises, so then the Retribution expansion kind of stopped a bit.
So there, I rolled a hit. Ossyan's Field Marshal is Future Sight, so I missed by 1, I believe, and then we boosted the hit, and I hit with a 2.
Yep, and I don't roll the tough on Mosby, so he goes down, but Transmutation's out on them, so it stays there at least, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah. And, like, I have Dispel on Ossyan's sword, but I really don't want him up there punching, and I'm scared of a Suppressor shooting me. So Ossyan goes, he shoots the Jack, and then he Future Sights for 1 extra damage. They give it -2 speed. And then I believe here I'm debating Arcantric bolting him, but I don't have a focus to boost. So I don't want to risk it. And my hope is that Moros can go in and kill, but Moros is only POW 15 with concentrated powers, so like he's a light warjack, like that's what he does. He's not like the heaviest hitter in the world.
No, he can punch a little bit above his weight class, but
and here Strike Force are going, and then that's where we realize like I miss with a 6 because I need a 7 because they're 13 base, and then there I hit and I don't break armor.
Yeah, which is shocking for me.
Or no, I believe this is actually, yep, this is Scythe. I was like, okay, I'm just going to aim and shoot, and I didn't realize the person she targeted was behind the building.
We were toggling that guy back and forth, and I think when I pulled him off, I was like, is that with cover? And then we should have checked it before I moved the model, but I think I just had enough of that building was in the way to give him the cover bonus.
Yeah, I eyeballed it from my side. I'm like, oh, he's not blocked, so I just shot, and then like otherwise I wouldn't have shot that one. So that stops the multi-fire trains. So Scythe did nothing, even with Fortune. Now Strike Force are going, and boy, are they rolling not good. So I hit a couple, didn't break armor. There we go. One in the back was able to shoot. I shoot at the one in the woods. Can't hit because I need 7s. And this is where Fortune on them would be really nice, but I figured Scythe would do more work consistently because she's Rat 8. And then multi-fire goes through. So there's still Halberdiers way up in my zone, and they're going to be getting some good charges next turn. Now Moros goes. He wasn't in range to walk and punch, so he had to charge. So charge attack does okay. Second initial, I believe...
I think that barely hit, right?
Yep, because he has Mat 7. That's what I was looking up. So now I buy the 3... Oh, yeah, that was my damage. I did no damage.
Yep, and I think now you've finally taken some systems out, and he's left on 1 box.
1 box, and I have no attacks left over there. So Healer goes my flag, and I score 1-1.
So I did lose some things. Losing Mosby was not great because my Halberdiers lost their ability to try and tough through some of those shots, especially when we were looking at Scythe, even though she didn't do much. So, like, best case scenario, it would have been nice for me to keep Mosby and Ethan to not shoot at the one that was in cover, and probably if we would have had a better conversation on that before it happened. But my Suppressor's still up, which I can't really do anything with because my mechanic's super far away. You'll notice that I did decide to, or maybe I didn't do it just yet, but I'm kind of toggling back and forth on whether I should take my elixir for Alyce to turn her into Big Alyce, and I say, yep, Alyce is really the only way I get to do anything to Moros over here. So she comes out, and that means that she can go off and do her own thing, and then my mechanic's going to be my official flag scorer, which and I feel like I might be able to contest the flag a little bit here too.
Yep, because Anastasia did just ambush.
Yep, she's a little bit off camera because I do like to zoom these in a little bit for the Brawlmachine stuff, which I honestly don't think it's that much bigger than our normal games.
But they're just so central. Like, you usually don't... The only time you get outflankers is with ambush.
Yeah.
And then your stupid cloud.
Yep, the cloud that saved my life this whole game. It's when we used to play Ossyan, like I was having big problems playing into Ret because I was like a full-time Khador player back then, and I kept playing Sorsha 1 into Ethan because it was like... It just crapped over all Retribution matchups until Ossyan. And then he was just smoking me all the time with Ossyan, even with my high defense. So now in this game I get to say, screw you. You don't get to shoot me at all.
Yeah, which is really sad.
Yeah, really good for me. The thing that we missed here while I was ranting about Sorsha is that I wanted to say Gorman, but Syvestro decided to try and boost a Stygian Abyss into Moros to try and get some damage on him, and I did crit, but I missed by one stupid number. So instead of rolling the 11 to hit, I rolled the 10, and I try to throw my Decrepitation Bomb here, and it just scatters off, so it doesn't hit anyone here. So I don't get any extra damage into Moros because I didn't quite feel like my crippled up suppressor could do anything. And I was worried about Alyce being able to get a lot of work done into him. So I decided to skirt him around and get him within 4 inches of flag so he becomes something that Ethan has to absolutely get rid of. And try to take a hit, and then we realize that he can't hit at all.
Yep, because the only thing left is his movement, and all of my stuff is above def 11, so he actually can't hit with any of his attacks.
Yep, so that was... It was an unfortunate course of events. I mean... Yeah, that was really the only thing I could do. So next up is Alyce walking and then jumping into melee with Moros, and she ends up connecting real easy with Mat 8 and does a decent amount of damage, and then the second roll actually does... I think the first roll did good damage and the second roll did all right damage, but we ended up taking out his movement.
You took out his left arm and his movement.
But not his G system.
Yep.
So the rocket... or the Dragon's Breath rocket goes to shoot at mage hunters because they ignore line of sight.
They've already used the mini feat, so they... Oh, you're saying your guys, yeah.
Yeah, my guys ignore line of sight for the garbage chute that's in front of my zone here. So I can pepper them out. I think I ended up drifting in a bad direction. I think I missed what happened. One. I caught one of them, sorry. So one mage hunter down, good for me because now halberdiers can do stuff and not worry about dying a bunch. It's one less guy, right? So one halberdier curves way off to the side to charge into Moros, and the rest start charging up forward to just bury into Ethan's zone because I want to make sure that I'm contesting this thing for as long as possible, but I do want to put some meaningful damage into Moros. So we start doing the attacks that are in Ethan's circle zone, and we're doing all right. We're hitting and removing them off, and then a couple are going into Hypnos, and I don't think we do a lot of damage to him because the rolls weren't super hot here. And the last one...
You actually do really well.
Oh yeah, that last one blew up.
You half-health him with just 3 halberdiers.
It was pretty good. I won't lie about that.
You more than half-held him. You can see his grid. He's got maybe about less than a dozen boxes left.
So Anastasia runs to contest, and that's kind of it for my turn. So I started up on Ethan's side, and then right away I realized I forgot to take the charge on Moros. So we pause, flip it back to me, and I take my attack, and that one does a decent amount of work, not a ton though.
That's the one that takes out his left arm. You're 1 box away from taking out his G field, so he's got his movement, he's got his cortex and right arm and G field.
It's worth noting that took quite a bit of time for me, so I'm down to 1 minute and 13, but I feel like I'm in a pretty decent position here. I'm not in a commanding position, but it's not terrible.
You're up 2-1 on me because I couldn't contest your flag and you're just contesting mine.
Mm-hmm.
So just going up with the Arcanist, concentrating power again because he was within 9. Ossyan walks over, gets within 5. Hot swaps Fortune to himself just to be safe. Shoots her. I'm really close to hitting, so I opt just to Future Sight instead of Fortuning first to see, because I think I just need to 1 again, and that's the power of Future Sight. So I'm sitting naked, but he's got like a minute, and I'm hoping that Suppressor's going to die, so I don't think he can kill me.
Yeah, I think you might have put like 5 boxes or something like that on Alyce.
I haven't shot her yet.
Oh, I must have misinterpreted what was going on.
Ossyan shot Anastasia.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
So now I allocated a few of the Hypnos. Hypnos is trying to punch his way through with Future Sight. So a few of these I roll, I miss. I don't Future Sight. I just buy. Even with Mat 7, I need 8s.
Yeah, Transmutation is just such a crazy spell on those guys.
Yeah, it's really good. And now I'm trying to clear my zone, but I don't think I'm going to be able to clear it this turn. I'm going to try and kill as many as I can. That way next turn he can't contest. And then Strike Force are just whiffing everything. So I've missed twice. I finally hit. And then I don't break armor.
Yeah, I took him out because I'm like, oh, of course it's going to die. And then the little like tiny hand Mage Hunter doesn't quite get there.
So they did nothing. Scythe goes, shoots the Jack, kills, and then multi-fires on the Alyce and misses because I missed by 1.
Yeah, she's up to defense 17 in melee.
Yep. So then I don't run and gun because I'm running low on clock. So Moros just stays in combat, tries his bad arm, rolls the 6 because you are a 13 on Mat 7.
Yep.
So I don't boost damage, so it does nothing. The second one, I end up boosting damage because I was really close to killing, and I was just sitting there on 2 focus. And then I pass turn and score 1-1.
So I do not have a lot of time to get stuff done here. Losing Alyce was unfortunate, but I just didn't think about Scythe coming after her. So things I have to do are, when we figure out what the points are, I really just have to contest Ethan's zone, get on my flag, and clear my zone. So in the 1 minute that I have to do this, I'm trying to figure out the order of things, and you can tell by the time ticking down slowly that I am really not doing this in the most efficient way possible. So I aim with the rocket, shoot Moros, and rip him off the table. That's super great. I didn't even repo. I run a Halberdier in, and then I pass turn, and I'm like, ha! And then Ethan's like, is he in command? And he wasn't.
Yep. Do get to score my flag, so it's currently 4-3, or 5-3, because you scored your zone. Because Moros had 7 boxes left. I was hoping he would survive, but you rolled an 11. Ossyan goes up, punches, and I realized I forgot he had Dispel, so that should have actually dispelled Transmutation, which would have not mattered really much over there. Scythe goes, runs.
Yeah, so she's just getting the flag.
So I've contesting his stuff, and he doesn't have time to do anything to me, so what I should have done was just end turn, but I'm like, maybe I can clear my zone.
You got a little greedy.
I did. So like I'm killing. Strike Force kill everybody except 1. So now I'm like, okay, Hypnos quickly shoots, and then I was like, crap, he's Rat 6, aims to 8, and like there's no way I can resolve Drift before. Like I should have just ended my turn, and then I think I win.
Yeah, so...
Syvestro can maybe kill the Lys Healer in 6 seconds.
Possibly, maybe throw a bomb and boost, or a Stygian. So it feels a little skeezy, because I paused the clock and just said, okay, that's your turn, and then he was like, oh, I have to take blast damage, I can't not do it, and you can't quite do that in the 2 seconds, so you ended up not conceding the game, but instead of having a Midwest nice off of who won or lost, I was just going to accept it and go by, because I should have just paid attention to stupid command range and ran. All I needed to do was run the leader out, and even if he gets free struck, I just promote to the guy who's contesting the flag and everything's fine. So that's a W for Syvestro, even if it's a little bit wonky.
It's okay.
So for the sideboard for Syvestro on this run going into game 2, I ended up swapping out Anastasia di Bray because she's not really needed right now, and the flags are just a little bit off from where she's going to be affecting them outside of just running to contest. So I decide to put in my Trancer, and that should do some really cool things for me in terms of like threat extension, being really difficult for Ethan to deal with, and just jamming with that into some Mage Hunters is going to make their lives not super great either. So I kind of like went back and forth on whether I was going to pull out Alyce for Hutchuck, and I decided to keep Alyce in just because being able to rage out and turn into the big Alyce version is really powerful in Brawlmachine. I think she's probably one of the best pieces that Crucible Guard has access to, because she supports when you need it, and when you're done needing that support, she just turns into this rip-roaring solo that can rage up the table and destroy things.
For my sideboard, I ended up not changing anything because like I have all the guns I can get in my sideboard. Like I could swap in a few like solos and rec options, but like Scythe Under Feet just does so much work that I wanted to keep her in, and the other solos just didn't feel right. They might have helped me contest the flags better, but I'd rather have like the extra solos package that's in the list as is. So with me losing turn game 1, I opted to go first because I did not want him getting up the board again.
And I flipped Ethan's sides because that forest was hurting me more than helping me, and I feel like this way I could, go from my zone to Ethan's zone a little bit easier, and I feel like this is the better side for my list.
Yeah, and I was fine with either, with the mini feats and Hypnos having go shot like that. The curve in the forest is the perfect place for him to sit. So I end up fortuning the Strike Force, Admoing Moros, and quickening Hypnos. I had hoped to allocate one to Moros so he could fleet move, but I just didn't have enough focus. And I'm like, I want to run max distance, but then I realized like his stupid rocket AoE 4 is just going to drift onto my dudes. So I'm like, I just need to hide turn 1 and then unpackage next turn. So I hide a bunch behind the woods, and I stay out of line of sight on that side. So if he wants to go deep, crisscross. And now I am factoring in a super fuel suppressor walk and spray because that threatens 16. And I really, really don't want to lose Strike Force pre-feat. And like I got lucky last game with his drift not going the good direction. Otherwise, like that game would have been even worse. So everybody's just staying command. Moros runs his whopping 14 because he's speed 7. Hypnos walks up or runs up and around things to quicken 12 inches. And I just run the Lys Healer to the flag and keep the Arcanist up. And Scythe is just running up to stay safe because I really don't... Like, I'm out of trance or charge, but she can run to engage.
So Ethan's done a good job of staying out of a lot of my threat ranges and trying to protect himself from some of my drifts, but I got a special trick up my sleeve that I'm ready to unpack. My first order of business is like my upkeeps are going exactly where they went before. Explosivo is a great spell on the suppressor. It turns him into a monster in this game. And the Toro gets Admonition because Admonition, Countercharge are like the best combo in the universe, other than +1 to go first and reroll.
Yeah.
And the Halberdiers get Transmutate because it is so good on them. I can't stress how amazing that spell is on that unit in this faction. It's just, it turns them up to like defense 17 on the charge, or against a charge, and then it puts them up to POW 17 when they charge with Mosby's Fortimorphic Elixir, I think is what it is. So like they just become powerhouses. It's like a little light warjack running at you every time. It's gross. So I decide to get a lot of my solos kind of concentrated around the flag, and Syvestro gets to camp 1 extra. He super fueled this turn. So now this is where you get to see my master plan. I run up my Trancer, and I leave her in a spot where I have 3 inches of line of sight through the forest, and I'm still engaging all these mage hunters, and so that's something that Ethan's got to deal with. And when he does deal with it, if it's in melee, that she's just going to do a ton of damage to them. I get my Dragon's Breath rocket up next to shoot. She's in cover with Force Barrier and engaged, so I think I need to roll an 11 or a 12 to hit her, and of course I miss, and I drift 1 inch to the 1, and that catches me 3 Mage Hunter Strike Force that Ethan didn't think I was going to be able to get. So I end up giving up a lot of advantage with having this Trancer here as like a late game contesting piece, but taking out 3 guns right away is massive for making sure that my Halberdiers exist into the long game. So now I'm deciding to run them up and thread them in a way to make sure that they can become active as the turns go on. And I'm still trying to respect Shatterstorm because that spell can take out a lot of these guys just on accident. So I'm eyeballing again the dangers of eyeballing, keeping them outside of small blast range from one another. And I feel like this is a decent place for them to be. My Toro's being super duper protective and defensive by staying behind the wall, and now my Suppressor is even being more so defensive and reactive by deciding to run behind the obstruction instead of just straight up and being, outside a threat. And this is a good spot for him to hang out and unpack on Mage Hunters.
The Suppressor going wide is a real problem, because now if I go up to do any work, something that caught me last game was like the Strike Force don't have repo. So if I go up to do work, they're going to be in a nice conga line for some sprays that explode, and that's going to be a really sad time for me. And I don't want to feat and not catch the jacks, because like there's Halberdiers in the way. The jacks are staying back, and like he still has the Admo Toro move, so like I have to respect it. So I don't think it's worth feeding this turn, because I just can't. I don't need feet to kill Halberdiers. And since a couple ladies died, the Lys Healer gets to make a move up and over, because she's going to be making her way towards his zone to contest. And now here's where I'm lamenting, like, what can I do to this Suppressor? If I want to catch it and feed, Ossyan would have to go really, really wide. And I don't even know if I can reach there, because the way there's dudes in the way, I don't think I can. So he walks to the flanks. I still have to kill this Trancer somehow. So I opt to go, and then I try to hit the Trancer. Future Sight, I roll a 6, so I hit a 12. So now I believe I need a 3 to hit, and I roll a 5.
Yeah, because she's actually 17 in the woods.
Yep. So I don't have to boost damage. I upkept all my spells, so I'm sitting on 3. I didn't allocate anything because Moros can't really do anything. Syvestro stayed back to respect Moros' threat range of walking, because he did not get to put down the cloud this turn. So Moros can fleet to speed 9, shoot 8, threaten 17, threaten 19 with Quicken. So I believe you stayed just outside of that.
Yeah, that was my hope here, was to make sure Syvestro was safe, because super fuel is so important. I think this was Hypnos shooting at a Halberdier.
Yep. And then he had to Future Sight the shot, and luckily blast damage just killed. And the only tough check you made was the original guy.
Yep, but then the other guy ends up going down to it.
And he is shadowbound at least, so like that's a thing. But now I'm trying to plan out like where our Strike Force going to go, because I don't want to spend their mini feat just yet, in case I need it for a later turn. But I'm trying to see what I can do. And I believe Scythe is going to go first. And then she hits.
And I think I might have toughed off screen. I know that like my dice box isn't in the greatest position in the world. Okay, he died. I think we were talking about where the chain for multi-fire goes, and I think you said that it goes from model to model to model instead of just from the
last
original
model hit.
Yep. So you curve through a couple of them, but I do get some fancy tough checks, and I'm not knocked down from this, so that's really good for me.
Yep, and then she ended up missing, I believe, after the third shot.
Yeah, because she doesn't ignore transmute like the Mage Hunters do.
She aims to 10. We're at 10, but it's still like...
It's 5s. I mean, it's not always going to hit, right?
Yep, and then she does not run and gun.
You got your Lys Healer here who's being a little sneaky.
Yeah, she ran to the corner of the zone behind the building, so that way the grunts from the other unit couldn't see her. And the closest Halberdier that's facing at her is shadowbound, so he can't really get there.
Yeah, that worked out pretty well for you.
And now the Strike Force are going up, staying outside reach, staying outside Admo countercharge, because I don't know if he has the distance to Admo over the wall, but I don't want to risk it, and I don't want to waste my clock measuring it. And if you can't really tell because that tree's in the way, but my clock is going low. Like, this is taking me a long time. And like you can see the perfect line like I'm giving him, where if he lines up, he can get some really good sprays, and it's going to be a really bad time.
Yep, you could level a shelf with that line.
So now I'm going. I missed even with Fortune.
I think one of them went down. I just picked one off the table.
Yeah. Oh, yep, she missed because that one aimed. Rerolled a hit, actually broke armor, and now I'm just shooting through. Like, cause I want to clear as many halbs as I can before they come in, because like with the good stuff and everything, POW 17s just wreck my battle group, and with powerful charge, they just need 7s to hit me under your feet. So it's like, it's just #Syvestro problems, and I'm trying to stay relevant with all my stuff, but stay out of like purification range. So now I'm just shooting, hit, break armor, and then like you're making a few of these tough checks, which is getting really annoying.
Yeah, I think for a hot minute, some of the things that kept you from moving faster, where you were thinking about, maybe it's right here where you're thinking about doing a combined range shot into Alejandro.
Yep, I was debating at first trying to do a 3-man CRA into him behind the wall, but like I needed an 8 still. So there I go for the mechanic, and then I try to shoot Alyce, and I miss. Because I'm only at 6, I needed a 7. I was hoping to kill his solos over there, or at least make Alyce roid out. And then that way Syvestro would have to go to the flag. And there I'm just backing up Moros, because I don't want to get sprayed on, because a suppressor spray under feet will... 2 of them will probably kill Moros, or at least really ruin his day.
So it looks like I've lost a bunch of stuff here, but Ethan's got given me a lot of really good opportunities to kind of clear out a lot of this Mage Hunter Strike Force stuff, and I've got both my jacks still. And the thing with Syvestro is that even when it looks like he's starting to lose the attrition battle a bit, it's really not that big of a deal because he's got Revive in his back pocket, so he can get like 3 of those out if he really wants to. I opt to upkeep everything that I've got out there, so that Revive plan is a little different now. And I'm looking kind of at the table and realizing that I think that now is the time to get Alyce to drink her elixir and go into Big Alyce, because I just really need to try and get as much of this Strike Force going. I feel like if I can cripple the Strike Force this turn, it really puts me in a good position to grind this game out in a way that is more beneficial to me, because Ethan's lost all of his do-work models that are going to be able to reliably deal with the Halberdiers. So I think we're just kind of calculating what the threat ranges from Moros are looking like, and if Syvestro can go where he needs to. And I'm kind of tinkering with my focus a bit, and I believe we're at least getting close to the point where I'm like, nope, I'm going to roll this back a little bit and get Alyce into big girl mode. And I think it's just a lot of me trying to figure out, okay, so if Alyce does get into big girl mode, is she which mage hunters is she going to go for? Which mage hunters does the suppressor go for? Which ones can he reach? How many of those mage hunters are going to blow up from explosivo triggers? And now that we've done all the math and figured out where everyone's going, I'll go ahead and drink my elixir and turn into Big Alyce. So Syvestro has to be the first one to go here because I've got feet to put up, and I use my little field alchemy thing, or whatever it's called, to get out my ephemeral cloud, and I need to make sure I'm staying out of Moros's gun range and charge range. So staying behind the flag where I'm at keeps me outside of Moros's walk and shoot, because this way he can't physically get within 5 inches of me. And I don't have much to do with my focus. I don't want to like fling out a Stygian Abyss or anything like that. So I just decide to camp it in case something goes weird with my calculations and Syvestro can actually get some hits put on him from somewhere. So I make sure that everyone's make sure that I know where the Dragon's Breath rocket needs to go in order to take advantage of the feat, which it's fine where it's at, but it's nice to know where your like lines cut off. So I think now I'm still going back to this like juggling match of who's going to go where to deal with mage hunters, and I decide to take the easy shot first and have the Dragon's Breath rocket spread out a little bit and get into a position where they can try and lob a rocket off at the not the leader, but I think he's the one that's in the zone. He's like the second line of them on the very, very bottom. Or no, maybe it was the front one and I deviated backwards or something.
Yeah, he went straight back 1 inch and it only clipped him.
Yep, so I get one guy, which is fine. I mean, like the Dragon's Breath rocket doesn't seem to be... I mean, it's already done a lot of work. It's taken out 4 mage hunters this game, which is really nice. It's a huge upset in a Brawlmachine game. So I walk up my my suppressor, and then I realize, like, this probably, with me having dual shot, it's probably better for me to just charge at one of them. So I put him back to where he was, and looking at the video now, I see like I've got him really bright where he was again. I don't think I've adjusted that to where he's clipping that objective or obstruction at all. So we start trying to figure out, which lane can I charge down to get within reach or get in range of all these things. So I'm jiggling him around, and this is really sloppy, poor play. Like, I should have really put down some proxies to figure this out and make sure it works. But we end up making it function, and I don't feel like I'm taking advantage of any of the rules in the game or just ignoring terrain. So I charge off, and I decide to lead off with my sprays. And going here, I can clip 2, maybe 3 Mage Hunters. I can't remember what it was.
2.
And
here we do a Shatterstorm, but nobody was nearby.
Yeah, an Explosivo. And then, because you had forgotten about it. But I don't clip, and I get the one guy I was going for. But now with the way things are positioned, and now that I see the line a little bit more clearly, I can spray the one that Ethan just promoted and catch Scythe. And the front guy that I'm engaged with, I end up missing. And the Scythe I end up hitting and boosting damage on and just crack damage on her hard. I take my melee attack into the front 2, and they go down also. So right now the Suppressor's taken out 3 Mage Hunters and Scythe on his own, and that's a huge blow to Ethan's army.
Yep, especially pre-feat. Like, I'm running out of things to work with, and you haven't even activated the Steelheads.
Yep, and now we've got Alyce taking out the one Mage Hunter that she was able to, so I've almost collapsed that entire zone outside of Moros, and you have 2 Mage Hunters left.
I have 3 with the UA.
Sorry, yeah, I see there's the third one out on the edge there. So now I'm at the point where, like, now the Halberdiers get to go and do whatever they need to put some effort or to force some more attrition on the table. And I am able to get 2, maybe 3 of them into these Mage Hunters. And then I end up crisscrossing some others to run to engage the Lys Healer on the side of the table. I'm not able to get that charge because of that shadow bind in the middle there, but I'm at least able to put some pieces around her so she can't, like, get squirrely and squeal away somewhere. Mosby kind of hangs out in the back. I figure he's done his job already and puts up the coagulum again because I didn't want to have a hard time hitting these guys. And we end up, I think it's not even press forward. Maybe, yeah, it was press forward order.
Charged.
Yeah. So we take out the 2 Mage Hunters, so now there's only 1 Mage Hunter left. My Toro gets into a position for counter charges, and then I pass the turn and score a ton of points.
How you score?
I score 1.
So it's 1-1. I am down to 1 strike force, and I've killed, I believe, 3 Steelheads and 1 solo.
I think it's like 5 Steelheads are gone.
So
There's 2 in the front, 2 by the Lys Healer, and then Mosby.
So I've killed 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
And at this point, I almost have no feat because the strike force are the main component of my feat. Like, yeah, my battle group gets their single shots, but that's not gonna do really anything. So now I upkeep Admo, debating what to do. I believe I allocate 1 to Hypnos, allocate 2 to the Moros, because, like, I know Moros has to go in the melee, and, like, I'm going to do something cute. Originally, I was thinking about shooting Steelheads, but I allocated 1 to Hypnos. So Ossyan goes, shoots the Jack, or shoots Alyce, hits without Future Sight, and then I believe I have to Future Sight it for the extra D6, and I needed, like, a 3, and I rolled a 4. And she did not tough, luckily.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Alyce has gone down every game, but I think she's done enough work to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, like, I have to kill her, and she is just really good. So now Ossyan is scoring that zone. My plan is to get the Arcanist on the flag, but that means I can't Concentrated Power. And there I throw out a Arcantric Bolt, and I roll a 3, so I don't even get...
Yeah, I squeaked away right nice and clean with that one.
Because I'd hope to stationary him and then maybe get some free chip damage, because without Concentrated Power, I have 0 confidence in Moros killing this thing. And there I'm trying to measure if I can get in range without getting a counter charge. So Hypnos ends up going aims, hits, and then boosts damage on the Toro, thanks to Ghost Shot. I end up just boosting because, like, I'm going to do it no matter what, even with Future Sight. So I Shadow Bind him so he can't counter charge. So now Moros can charge without eating a counter charge to the face, which would probably cripple something on him. And then there I'm debating running the Lys Healer around to the back to engage the rocket, even though she doesn't have a melee attack. But those guys just need 7s to hit her, so, like, she's not safe no matter where she goes.
Yeah, that Dragon's Breath rocket's really nice. And I think we had the camera die out here.
Yeah. All that happened was Moros got to charge the Suppressor and surprisingly did not kill it and did not cripple anything on it. And I did end up popping Fleet, so that way I could contest the flag with that charge too. So at least I scored 2 to your 0, so I'm up 2-1.
Yep, so you're up, but I've got the way attrition advantage right now, especially having Revive in my back pocket. So I end up starting to do some focus calculation with Syvestro, and I drop Admonition because I really don't feel like I need it anymore. And I drop Explosivo because I really don't need that anymore because most of Ethan's pieces are gone. So the goal here then is I load up the Suppressor and I give 2 focus to the Toro. I might actually even load him up fully now that I'm kind of juggling things around a bit.
You did give 2 to him and then you shook Shadowbound.
Yeah, that's right. So he did get fully loaded. So my goal here is to try and get rid of Moros and then have the Suppressor go after Ossyan to put the fear of suppressors into him.
I mean, I'm camping 0 and like you're like a free strike away from getting your system crippled.
Yeah. So I need to get rid of Moros. So I end up moving him up and then I get pulled by my own stupid trick. I forgot Admonition was on him. So now Moros is going to bop away and make things not super good for my Toro.
Yeah, so basically I'm going almost directly in front of where the Suppressor wants to go, so that way the large base blocks the Toro's line of sight so he can't swing on me. And I'd hoped to stop the Suppressor from spraying my caster, but I didn't turn him far enough, so he can still stay engaged with me, which was a huge mistake.
And I think that the reason why I ended up going with this plan was I really was not confident in the time that I had left to do enough work to keep swinging attrition my way. I think in hindsight, running the Toro into your zone, since I don't really have any good charge targets, probably would have been the better deal because you're running out of pieces that can deal with an Arm 20 heavy with 30 boxes. So getting into that zone and camping out there probably would have been pretty good for me.
I think you wanted to kill Moros because if I swap quick into him with Fleet,
then
he can
gets on Syvestro.
Yep.
So my Halberdiers are walking up now so that I can get a couple on that Lys Healer. I combine melee into her and rip her off the table. I do a decent amount of damage to Hypnos even without charging, and then I end up missing a Mage Hunter Strike Force that I go into. So now my Suppressor is going to activate and just skirt around Moros, and I think Ethan's kind of talking about if he had his druthers, he would kind of reposition Moros so that I would take a free strike when I walk away from you. But I think even when we kind of worked it out, I could just walk around the other way too.
I don't know. Going around the other way would bring you away from me, but it really didn't matter.
Yeah, so I go up and I start spraying Ossyan and boosting where I can, and I only end up doing 3 damage total to him here. It wasn't really that great. The Suppressor was just maybe he went through too much fuel during this game and just ran out of juice. So I end my turn, but I've got a lot of points going on now.
Yep, you score 2 to my 0. So I believe it's 2 to 3. Yeah, so it's actually 3 to 3. I'm running low on clock. He's running low on clock. I'm getting contested, and things just aren't going great. Ossyan, the fire check does not go out. It does another 3 damage. So I end up just measuring out some stuff because I'm probably going to die next turn, but I need to stay in that zone to score it. So there we're just figuring out math about points. So I fully load Moros, and I believe I give 1 to Hypnos. So the Strike Force member tries to punch and, of course, misses. So then Hypnos goes up, hits. I future sight it to hit. And now, because he took out one of his arms, I believe, so I don't even bother taking that attack. So he's got an extra focus. Ossyan, I'm double checking his melee range, which is only 1. He walks up, punches the dude, and then I need future sight to hit. And I forget again about Dispel, so that should have stripped Transmute. I should have done that first. I do another Arcantric Bolt, and I actually hit, even in melee.
Yeah, big numbers.
And at dice -6, I do 1 damage to stationary him. So now Moros walks around to engage both of them, so he doesn't take a free strike. Auto hits, boost damage into the Suppressor. Auto hits, boost damage, and I don't even kill him.
Yeah, he's left on 1 box right now, and I think you pause it because you realize that with the 2 seconds left, you're out of this game?
Yeah, my literally only chance. There is no only chance because unless you clock yourself accidentally doing attacks where you don't need to, like I've lost the game.
Yeah, I've got I'm able to contest with those halberdiers that no longer have transmute on them, but they're in a position where they can run to contest your flag. I'm still in that zone, and the Toro's still hanging out. I might be able to kill Moros in 2 minutes and still be able to get all the contesting and scoring where I need to. So with the way that the game goes out, you pull the plug, and that goes with 2-0 to Syvestro.
Yeah.
So overall, like, Crucible Guard in general is weird, right? Because I think a lot of people are kind of like burnt out on their bubblegum sensation feel because they have a small amount of casters, and in Brawlmachine it's even worse because they lose one of their 4, right? 4 casters? 5, sorry. I forget that Lucas actually exists.
Hey, the juicer.
So this Syvestro list, though, is super duper effective, and I think that's kind of the overall thing with Crucible Guard. It's not that they're bad, it's just that they're very stagnant. So I'm really looking forward to the Drugs Are Bad CID that'll come out eventually, and I think Bennett's going to be really fun if they get her right when she comes out, because right now I don't think she's quite where she needs to be. Again, it's unfortunate that she's going to be relegated to like the Sorsha 3 of the world, where like she's going to be taken with Crucible Guard Rocket Men, and that's about it. Like, I just don't see her doing anything outside of maybe being a Jack caster once in a while, but it just doesn't work for her. I think they're taking a faction that has like really specific builds and then making more specific pieces for them. Like, I'll never play McKay outside of Prima Materia, and I'll never play Syvestro. Well, I can play Syvestro on either, but I'll never play Locke in Magnum Opus. So, like, things are just wonky with them. But although Brawlmachine feels really great because they are a very versatile faction, their pieces have multi-roles. And even in this match, like, I'm playing with a Toro, so I'm 2 points down on my battle group. If I were to upgrade him to a Vindicator, it'd still be a good piece. And that gun being able to influence as much and do as much as it could would still be a really good call, even though the Toro is kind of like the quintessential warjack of mercenaries. Overall, I really enjoyed this game with Syvestro. It felt good to be able to put him back on the table after being gone for so long from the faction, although I think Ethan probably didn't appreciate the Syvestro business.
I mean, we brought a list and we're like, let's play this. I wanted to test if Ossyan with Strike Force, like if the assassination game was too strong, and then you dropped one of the few casters in the game I just can't assassinate.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I was trying to like metagame for this. I got the Crucible Guard army, and I decided to try and break a painting funk by throwing some colors on it. And I was like, I really want to play the Syvestro list regardless of what Ethan drops. And then you just said you wanted to play Ossyan regardless. So I was like, okay, this will be an interesting matchup. Because I think when we talked about it, we both have the tools that deal with each other's stuff. It's just that I can attrition you better than you can attrition me.
Oh, 100%. Like, a lot of my stuff is POW 10s and then the feet, whereas, like, if your attacks hit me, I die. Mm-hmm. Whereas you, I actually have to roll dice, and your feat just makes it, like, you're going to hit me, and then I'm going to die. And this was, like, the problem. Like, because I used to play Ossyan in Mark 2, too. The reason why I was so excited about him in Mark 3 was, like, he's always cranked damage on range, because, like, he had the same feat in Mark 2. He just, like, his army can't hit very well. And now, like, Hypnos' gun has Shadowbind, his gun has Neg 2 Def. I brought Moros for Paralyze. But, like, Fortune just isn't the same as Deadeye.
Yeah, for sure.
And, like, it went okay. It's just, like, I didn't have the chance to, like, just literally go for your caster. There was a couple turns where, like, I could have tried, but, like, with POW 13 weapons, I didn't think I'd be able to kill him.
Yeah, I think the turn you were really considering it, there was one turn where I was on 1 focus and then one turn where I was on 4, where it just was very unlikely to happen.
Yeah, and, like, you have Purification, so, like, that's a really bad time for Ossyan. I have 4 upkeeps. I never cast Shatterstorm, so I'm like, if you want to revive instead of Purify, like, please do that.
Yeah, the Purify was almost more of a like a scare tactic for this game, because my issue with not doing Purify was that if I get up far enough to make Purify do work, it means that Syvestro's close enough to get shot to death. So I wanted that cloud a lot more than I wanted I guess I could walk up and purify and cloud, but the way your mage hunters were so far up the table, I just didn't feel like it was ever safe.
Yeah, and that's fair. Because it's the threat. And like you have AoEs, you have the suppressor. Like your jacks are just very, very good and very versatile. Like I think Crucible Guard jacks at 25 are just really good because they're so versatile and like they still do stuff.
It's almost like the worst one is the Toro because it doesn't have options. It's just got tricks. Whereas like the Vindicator, that gun does a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and like it does stuff into hordes. It does stuff in the Warmachine. Like it just does good stuff.
It also just catches incorporeal models.
Yep.
And
like,
I think stealth ones too. I can't remember if the third shot ignores stealth and incorporeal, but I think it's just
it strips it. Yeah.
Strips it. Yeah. So it'll still suck if you're stealth, but it's still just and he's got a POW 18 mace or 17 mace. That's 2-inch reach. Like he's still really, really good.
Yeah. And Syvestro, like you could build Syvestro is like he's arguably still one of the best generalist casters in the game, and I feel like
hands down.
Like he's just so good. And then when you factor in like that sideboard tech you did game one with Anastasia just for the +1, the like I had a reroll, but it didn't matter because you had Anastasia.
Yep.
And then swapping her out for a transfer turn or game 2.
Yeah, it felt real skeezy but nice, if I can say that. The only like the interesting thing about that is that in game 1, being able to run up the table and set the lines of engagement as easy as I could was nice. I mean, you were able to threat range. Your threat ranges were quite good too. I mean, you took a Toro off the table on top of one,
but it took my whole army.
Exactly. But then when we played the second game and I got the second turn, it still felt like I was advantaged with the way that I went up. First, being able to just like kind of pull the rug out from under you with those Mage Hunter Strike Force and the Transfer Trick, like that was a really big thing for me. But other than that, like my Steelhead Halberdiers, they know they're going to die, so they just run up the table as far as they can, and I was just able to kind of react a little bit more to your second turn where you had to come out a little bit further to deal with some of the jacks and stuff. So it just... Overall, this just felt like I was really well positioned in this matchup when I thought at first that it was really going to be a back and forth and could be one of these things that goes to game 3 pretty easily.
Yeah, like I knew, like either way, I'm not in a great spot because, like you said, if you win the roll, you super fuel, you get all your upkeeps out, and I have no chance of killing you. If you go second, I have to run up. You can counter deploy away from. Or I guess you can't counter deploy away from the Strike Force, but you have the AoEs and the threats, and you can space out because I 100% need you in my feet. You just need your stuff in your feet.
Yep,
so
I
like,
love that.
Ossyan has to play super far forward, and like there was the turn there. I'm like, if I feed over on that suppressor, I think I might die to a Toro.
Yeah, feats like Ossyans are powerful, but the whole having to be in your control range in order to get them work just really hurts. So I'm really thankful for feats like Syvestro's where it's like I get to do all my cool stuff and can do it irrespective of where you happen to be.
Yeah, like just having to be in the friendly feat. That's why this might be a hot take. I've said this in the Minnesota chat, and I don't think they agree, that Syvestro's feat is literally a 100% better version of Baldwin's. Because Baldwin gives +2 to hit and damage. He gives prey, basically, in his control to a unit that can swap, whereas, like, Syvestro with a bigger control just needs his friendlies in. An additional die drop the lowest. Isn't that mathematically a +2?
Yeah, I mean, math-wise, it works out to be this. Plus, with Baldwin, you don't get any... You get, like, weird help with crits if you're looking for any of those, but with Syvestro, you get just straight-up ability to crit well. And in that first scenario where, like, it took everything in your tank to kill that Toro, if you leave that thing on one box, you're screwed. Because I'll be able to feat, kill a bunch of stuff, and now my Toro's back up to full again. There's like, it's so crazy that there's another part of Syvestro's feat when he already has an amazing feat that's just a 4-focus spell on another caster. I mean, minus the ability to drop the one you want.
I mean, it's a better version of the spell at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's different.
I mean, Signs of Importance drops the lowest, whereas you get to pick, don't you?
Yeah, you do get to pick.
Yeah, it's like a serious feat, but like instead of True Sight, you get healing. Which, like, it rarely comes up, but it's still one of those things, like, if something fails to kill a jack or your battle engine,
yeah,
like,
those
bam.
Raelises are not easy to kill. They're 36 boxes at ARM 19 or 20 it is. Like, you have to commit hard to those, and sometimes you just can't do it.
Yeah, sometimes they come up short.
Or throwing a Vulcan up super far. One of my favorite lists to play with Syvestro in ye olden days was double railless Vulcan, just because, like, no matter what, you've got to put damage into those things, and on feat turn, I just get it all back.
Yeah, super fun.
But I look forward to putting some more Crucible Guard stuff out here on the channel. Really, like, I'm just really infatuated with this faction. I missed a big portion of its existence because I had traded the army away to get the camera that films all our battle reports. So very happy to have them back, and we look forward to making the next battle report for you.
Yeah, I'm excited for more rets. I feel like, I don't know, like, this was supposed to test the Strike Force. Like, I'm worried about Strike Force, like the Snipe Feet Go of, like, with Ossyan, or the Snipe Feet Go, the classic.
What about Raven, yeah?
Yeah, what about Raven?
Yeah,
Oh,
what about Raven?
yeah.
No, it'll be fun to see those, because I know that a lot of other players are really interested in Retribution right now. So, I mean, just seeing someone, like, not champion the faction per se, but I think Retribution players outside of, like, Crucible Guard players feel like they've been punched down enough to where they just, like, are like, it's a limited faction, whatever. But Retribution players feel like they're kind of like, you know, kicking the can down the road, being like, my faction blows because I have the best battle engine in the game.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, I tried building a few 75 points, and it's like, man, why aren't I playing with Tridents? Or at least, like, Brawlmachine, you get to branch out, and, like, you don't feel handicapped because you can't take Tridents.
Yeah, you just have that option, like, stolen from you.
Yeah, I can play the other stuff and actually not feel like I'm just playing with inferior things, because Tridents are just so much better than everything in faction.
Yeah, it'll be a fun time to see how more of these Ret builds shake out.
Yeah.